Look at it. Yes, honey. Yes. Yes. Look at that goodness. Go off, queen, because that's exactly what we about to do today, honey. Let's run in and get some supplies. So let me make sure this is the moss we're looking for. You see these nice big chunks that we have to use here? These are going to be perfect to fill in the front of that window box. Let's grab this and head back outside. Let me tuck this in here. I'm going to go in and start using these big chunks and just kind of just fill in the spaces here. Y'all got to get in close and look at this. That just totally took and elevated the look beyond. It is absolutely beautiful. Come in and look at this, guys. Look at how when I go in and I put the moss in there, it completely elevates the look. It's absolutely gorgeous. Have everything tucked in right here. Perfect. I think we're going to use this container right here. I think it'll complement the room that is going in very well. Arrangement is done. I love it. I love the texture, but I feel like we can elevate this a little bit more. So I think what we need to do is go upstairs because I have the perfect plants that fit this arrangement just right. Here's the plants that we're going to be adding to this arrangement. So let's grab these. So just like I did in the window box, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to get the moss wet. That way it'll help it conform and get comfortable inside of the pot. Is going to shape a little bit better and just kind of help it just settle in a bit. we're going to start out by lining the bottom of our basket here. And when I do this, sometimes I'll use water, sometimes I won't. In this scenario, I'm not going to use any water. I'm just going to go ahead and just start lining my basket here. Nice big pieces right here. We can come in and just start lining our basket here. And I don't mind if they overlap. So I have some plastic bags here, and for my projects I just like to kind of keep some industrial style type clear bags on hand, although sometimes I will use black because black disappears. So we're just going to come in and we're just going to start to make a cut here. And so sometimes I'll line up the side of the bag, and I know I need to at least come right here. That gives me the opportunity to tuck in the rest of the bag here. So I'll cut this. Now when I'm doing this, I like to keep my bag together, and then I just set it on the inside. Sometimes I'll ball up the inside like that, and then I'll go in and I'll open up. Any moss that falls off the side can be replaced as soon as you get your soil back in there, and then it'll help keep it together. So now we'll open the bag up, and then let's add some soil. All right, now we'll get our plant in there. We are going to be using another hollow bore. Now the plastic in. Now sometimes I will cut the excess plastic off, and then other times I'll just fold it on in, because we are going to come in with a generous helping of moss. Because this is going in a different location than the other containers of hollow bores that I planted up, one being the window box and then the other one we planted up to grace the table, we are going to come in with a different type of moss because it's going to give us a different vibe, a different feel. Also, I do want to point out that at this point in time, start to correct. Now let me get my gloves off because we can work a little bit better without the gloves. Now at this time, I like to come in and I start tucking in moss around the tips here. Because even though we're adding moss on the top of this, we still want our presentation to look right. And so this is when I'll start to come in. So I'll show you this edge right here. We're going to actually get a little bit messy with the moss because I want it to look textured. I want it to look layered. I want it to very much give it's real moss, even though we know that we added this on the inside of it. So when you look at moss, moss kind of has those layers to it. And also I think it'll add a little 3D effect and make it more appealing to the eye. We come here, all you have to do is just pull your plastic back and just kind of just stuff around the perimeter here. And I like when the brown shows through. Okay, so it looks like we have some pretty good coverage all the way around. So now we're going to go in and we're going to start to add our moss. So we're going to be using some Spanish moss here. Now I like to keep my Spanish moss on hand. The Spanish moss and the English moss, I'd run out of more. I normally always have some type of sheet moss on hand, but I have been doing a lot of containers lately that have had moss in them. So it just kind of just comes with the territory, but it's one of those type of mosses that you can find easily, whether you have to run into your local Walmart or your local craft store. You should be able to get your hands on it real easy. And then we have just a little bit more here in this corner. I'm so satisfied with the look here. Just to have a beautiful hollow board coming up in the middle of all of this moss. We have our moss lined container. And then one of the things that kind of really just drew me to this basket here, one, I like the shape of it. Two, I like that the color on the bottom had that tan kind of feel, which I knew that that would be the route I was going to be taking with the moss on the top. I have some daffodils that are getting ready to burst open. So if you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome. I love containers. I love to container garden. I love to bring things out of bloom early. I love to have things in bloom late. So what we have here is we have our first official succession of bulbs here. Now this is a pot of bulbs that I planted up in a YouTube short. And you guys, when I tell you they're sticking up, they're ready to start making their way to the top. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working with these daffodils right here. But before we do that, I want to head to another area of my garden so we can start planting. Wait, I need one more thing before we go over there. So let me go grab those two things and I'll meet you in another area of the garden. Woo! First, I need to let me get this because, honey, we potting this up today. We got some other plants to go with it, too. Today is the day that we are going to be popping the trees inside of those containers. Now, if you guys just been following along with me, here's a skinny of what's going on. Over the fall, we were going from garden center to garden center, and we were looking for junipers in a poodle shape to go in those containers right there. We couldn't find any. So our good friends over at Monrovia gave us 2 evergreen spirals, Alberta spruce, of course. We used them in our holiday decor up against the front entryway. They were absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. Now we are going to be potting them up where this is going to be the place where they are going to be. Now, what I am going to do is the container is sitting up on bricks, so I'm going to take them down, and that way they're going to be able to get the warmth from the ground. So if we have any freezes or anything like that, I am not going to be going in and tickling the roots right now because it is in the winter time, which the winter time is a good time to plant. But what I want to do is I want to just get them some extra insulation around the root ball. Then we'll go in and we'll get them a good watering. So let's go get them. Woo! Whew. Child, I am telling you. 1, now let's go get 2. Wait a minute, coming in. Hold on. Here's the second one. Baby, now we plant. Okay, let's scoot this one over just for a short bit. I know y'all see my window box. Ain't it bumping? It's on point. It's on point. Whew. We're done. We are done. So we have the trees planted up. I kind of like the placement to where our curves are coming around opposite. Now they will be turned throughout the season in order to make sure they get sunlight from all 4 sides of the plant, 360 around the plant. But for right now, that looks good. We're going to provide them with a tremendous amount of water. This is the container that we're going to be using for this arrangement here. I love this container. It's a concrete container. I was trying to see if I can think about where I got this container from, but it's evading me at this time. So I don't know where I got the container from, but this is what we're going to use for this arrangement. We're going to be using the daffodils here for this arrangement. Daffodils are getting ready to burst open. So one of the flowers that I like to use at the beginning of the year without fail is daffodils. We're also going to talk about how we're putting this container together. So the first thing we need to do is we want to get some soil inside of this container. Before I put my soil in here, I'm going to add a piece of screen. That way the soil does not come out of the drain hole and clog the drain hole up. The roots look really good on this one. A little bit too much soil, so we'll just take it out. Okay, so now I just want to go around and make sure I have all of the roots tucked in. All right, now I want to come in with some Spanish moss around the bottom and also the crown of the container. I mean by the crown. So we're going to put a little bit inside here, just so it can show through a little bit, but I still want the heather, I still want that to come and look just extremely wild and invasive around the bottom here, but I want to accent with this beautiful color here. And I mean, I'm using a generous helping. You need to come around on this side here and add some more. Okay, so there, yes, that's exactly, and I will definitely give you all a close-up of what this looks like. Okay. Oh, sometimes it is so hard to get this Spanish moss out. Okay, there. Okay, let me see. All right, 360 and just a little bit more in the top around the back side here. So around this back side, do I need any more? Just a small little bit on the inside of the daffodils here. And this is what the inside of the container looks like. Absolutely perfect and gorgeous. Okay, so it is perfect. The components here, we came in, we used a daffodil here. The daffodils are just cracking bud here, and you can see where we have them in different stages of bud. This one is pretty much starting to show, or is showing, the petals of the flower here. So it's not going to be long before this one is out in bloom. Okay, and then you have the heather is coming around the bottom. But in this application, the moss is going to be looked at as an additional plant. And I just love to use moss. And what it does is it pays respect to every single plant. It helps divide. It helps really accent the texture here because the color is a tan color. Had I used green, green would have been nice, but it would have blended in more. By me coming in with the Spanish moss, it is really making your eye follow down the color and actually see, okay, when you stop, you want to say, okay, what all is in this container here? And let me tuck this piece in right here. So when I've used my moss in applications like this, I'm very generous with my moss here, and I just love it. When you get done using your bulbs in your containers, and this goes for tulip bulbs, and it also goes for daffodils, but more so with the daffodils. The tulips, if you want to do the tulips, you're not going to have it as long in a container as you will a daffodil. Because the daffodil, as long as you come in and you snip this out in an appropriate amount of time, you pull this out, hang it somewhere dry and cool, and you just let that energy go right back down into the bulb, and then you come back in, you cut everything out. And then what you can do is you can take your daffodil, you can put it in netting and just let it kind of hang, keep them dry in the dark place. You can check in on them every once in a while to make sure they're not molding up. But then the next season, you can go ahead and pop these up. But the point is, if you're going to do this, you want to make sure that you're not letting the flower dwindle out of bloom. Now I have some, like if I'm using a lot of tulips or a lot of daffodils in the display, I will go ahead and do it. But you technically can buy daffodils and tulips very inexpensive. So that way you're not using a lot of your budget. But if you are one that like to save things and like to reuse and reuse, you technically can reuse these. You also, once these die over, you can leave them in the container or you can pull them out and then you can go ahead and use them in your landscape. For me, I'm very big on container arrangements. For me, I am very, very big on coming in and doing these applications. Now, this container is so gorgeous. It is so gorgeous. And one of the things that made me go with the yellow, now I could have very easily came in and I could have used the white flower. We've done that before over here. I could have come in and I could have used the pink flower. We've done that. But let's look beyond that and pull the colors out of the heather here. Let's get in close and let's look at this heather. Let's look at the color variations here. Focus. Okay, so if you look at this color here on the heather, you can see where it gives off a green tone, but it has a yellow hue to it. So therefore, we took those colors there, and then we used the colors of our foliage here, or foliage, depending on where you're from, how you say it. And we use that to pull out those yellow hues, those yellow undertones in this heather. Now, we could have very much came in and used the pink because the pink is more so the dominant color here, but we did not want to play off that colorway. We definitely wanted to use the yellow here in more like a chartreuse color. Like, can you see it here? Can you see that? It definitely pulls in. And so I'm very excited about how everything turned out. You can really see up close the texture here. And the heather really just makes a statement all on its own. This angle right here, you can definitely see the yellow undertones a lot better. You can see the texture. Now, although pink is the dominant color, it's so cliche to go with a pink or a variation of pink or even white, because I've done that before as forestated. But in order to stand out, going with the less dominant color pulls in more question. If you pull out the yellow and the chartreuse, then it makes sense to only use the daffodil. Since I'm in here cleaning, I might as well go ahead and take the blinds down and clean my windows. That way more light can come through. Now that I have the window box clean, I took down my Christmas tree. It never fails. Every time that happens, I always feel a void. I have to jump on a conference call, and then after the conference call, we're going to pick right up with a fresh flower arrangement. And you all, can you see the trend that we're going with? Can you all see the color scheme? Because it's definitely going to fall right into that. I already have some beautiful florals, and I can't wait to show them to you, show you what they're going to look like, and I can't wait for us to grab the container that these beautiful fresh flowers are going to be going in. And FYI, I was a little bit nervous up there on that step stool because all I kept remembering and just having visions of is the bird. I mean, the bird. Like, I'm like, oh my God, do not come out of there, because there is a nest inside of this one right here. And that's why the bird is so territorial. So anytime I come out here, I'm kind of like making loud noise before I get to the window, because I'm like, hey, I'm coming in my area, which I know you've claimed that, but that bird is territorial and is also comfortable. I was sitting out here the other day taking tea, and it actually just flew right on the table, walked around for a little bit, and I said, OMG, let me grab my camera. And as soon as I moved, like made a sudden movement, it was out of there. But I'm telling you, honey, I think they part of the family, like they Penelope or Pegasus or somebody. You guys, look at these beautiful daffodils. Now let's go grab the container. I want to grab this container right here. Can you guys see this? I think this container right here will be absolutely perfect for what we need it for. Let's go grab the next one. This pot right here, I think would be great. So I think we'll grab that out. So we are going to do an arrangement with both of these containers. Now, the reason why I picked these containers is because they are going to complement what we already have going for the area that these containers will be at. So if you look close for this container, It has the same shape of this concrete urn right here. It has the antiquing around the bottom of it, which I so love. It also has the petals here. I mean, it's a beautiful example of a fleur-de-lis container. You guys see how it has the ribbing? It has ribbing right here, ribbing right here. And both of them have like a total antique vibe going on. And even right here on the container, you can definitely see the detailing that both of these have. Just absolutely gorgeous. We are going to come in and we are going to do the first installation of the rest of the containers that's going to be part of this collection right here. We need a little bit of soil. Even though we have a mini urn, we have a mini scooper, we'll put this inside of here because we won't need much. And then we'll grab out our first daffodil. All right, now we'll start on the next one. You guys, isn't that cute and angelic? We'll just start popping these daffodils in here one by one. I mean, and these roots are really loving their life right now. One more daffodil, so let me go grab that out of my stash. Gotta run to the plant room real quick. Okay, so for this one right here, we're going to just pop this right in this container, but I am trying to move a little bit of the soil away, so I'll break that up. And I'll show you and explain to you why in just a second. Okay, now the excess soil I am going to put back in here. So let me scoop it up. We want to scoop all of this soil up and then we'll come right back and just add it into the container. Okay, turn this a little bit right here. Then we'll add a little bit more. So let me show you the depth that we're filling in this container at right here. It's going in and filling in like crevices like right here on the container. And then if you look down on the inside, you can see where I have some roots exposed. Can you see that right here in this area? We're going to fill that in. And then right over here on this side, we're also going to fill that in. We'll put a little bit of soil on the inside of this container. It's not going to take much. All right, now I do want to accent the fact that we have spring bulbs out early. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to start to take my brush and slightly just remove a little bit of the soil, because this is a little bit of a brag here for us that we have these bulbs out on our tables this early in the season. We're going to show off the architecture of the bulb, and we're going to use a little bit of that in our arrangement. So I'm just slightly going in and I am just clearing away a little bit of the soil off of the bulb, and it doesn't take much. You want to be very gentle when you do this part right here. If you get to a section and you cannot remove the soil, you can pick the bulb up, you can dip it in a little bit of water. I tend to just, if it's soil on there that won't come off, I just kind of just let it stay. But if you really want to showcase your bulb, then what you want to do is just rinse it off, and that's perfectly fine to do such. we want to kind of expose some of our daffodil bulbs here. So I'm just kind of brushing those up. Not all of them, just some of them. In order to have cohesion with everything, we are coming back in with some Spanish moss. So again, you can find this big bag, $8.99, so basically $9 at Hobby Lobby. I like to go in and grab these. I pick them up a few at a time. That way I always have some type of moss on hand. So for the Spanish moss and the English moss, I really love to keep those in stock. We're just going to feed this around, but we're going to not use as much as we did with this arrangement right here, but we are going to use some, and we're going to be very scarce in the area where we scrape back the soil from, or brush back rather, the soil from the bulb. We're going to add a little bit around here. All right, now for this container right here, we are not going to expose the bulb, but we are going to come in and dress this up with a little bit of moss as well. A bit of water. And when I water and I'm using moss, I like to go in and I like to water the moss as well. So we have this one watered in. Now we just have to water in these spring bulbs right here. The things that you want to keep in mind if you are pulling back the soil away from your spring bulbs and you're going to be watering them in, because once the flowers come into bloom, you want to make sure you're not letting your bulbs dry out. Now, you want to make sure that when you water these, you are not directly watering your bulb, because you don't want your bulb to rot. You want to make sure that you use some of those same properties that you would use on the outside of your home. You want to bring those inside. One, you want to make sure you don't overwater them, because you don't want the bulb to get all soggy, boggy. You want to make sure you don't dry it out. You kind of want to keep it in a cool type room. You don't want to put it in a room that's too hot. Now, if you just have to have it in a room that you like to keep on the warmer side. So for me, it's certain rooms in my home that I love to keep very toasty, or rooms that have a fireplace in it. You want to make sure that if you have it in that room, it's not going to last as long. So make sure you're keeping it watered. Kind of want to give it the same conditions that they'll have in the springtime. The outside of your home, you want to continue that on the inside of your home as well. So for me, I definitely won't be placing any of this collection near my fireplace, because I know the fireplace is going to keep that area dry. It's going to be warmer in that area. So this is not going to be a good candidate for this collection to go. Now, I certainly know exactly where this collection is going in my home, and I can't wait to share that with you. We are going to head and we're going to do a beautiful arrangement, and you guys, when you see the fresh flowers that I get, you are going to just say, that's different, and it's going to be gorgeous. Come on, let's go get it together. thing I do when I bring my arrangements home is I give them their first cut and then I put them in some fresh water. That helps condition, helps start to hydrate the flowers that I'm going to be working with. Now, I'm going to come in and just start arranging really quick. I'm just going to pull these open. Let me turn this here for us. A little bit shorter on that one. Okay, so now when I use my kale, I like to have everything positioned perfectly and then I just build up from there. So now I'll go in with some white hydrangeas. Okay, so now, and we'll start to come in, just take a little bit off. We'll start to fill these in where we have space. And maybe one more right here. Actually, do you see how these two hydrangeas are side by side? I'm going to move this one and I am going to put it, actually, I am going to keep it right there. Okay. So here's our arrangement. Now, when you work with this kale, you want to make sure you come in and you pull your pieces down and kind of open them up a little bit, give a little bit more insight to the inside of the kale. That's how you want to do that. You use hydrangeas in arrangement. Sometimes you might have to come back in that next day and rehydrate them so they can open up, and that way your arrangement will last for a very, very long time. There are sprays and things that you can use on your hydrangeas in order to help them last longer in the vase. But I'm super duper excited about how all of this turned out, and I absolutely love it. Very inexpensive to recreate. I'm outside minding my business, living my best garden life. Here comes the bird swooping on in. Do you see? It almost landed on my back. And if you missed it while I was planting up yesterday, let me give you an instant replay. You guys, you cannot make this stuff up. You cannot make it up. Like, this is what I go through in my garden. The vessel that we are going to be using in order to get this arrangement done. Now, I know you may be thinking like, girl, please, ain't nothing gonna be elegant about this. But once we get this baby all cleaned up and we put it together, it's going to be absolutely amazing. I am trying to wiggle out this snapdragon right here because I think I want to change the position of it. This snapdragon needs to be a little bit shorter, just a little bit. Just a little bit. So I want it to be in the same position, just a little bit shorter. Like that, right? Then my roses, I'm going to swap this rose. Actually, I'm not. I'm just going to pull this rose up a bit. And I am going to start just filling in with a little bit more fluff with our leaves. Do you see how that makes a difference? I start to add more greenery here. It's going to give us a little bit more fluff, and it's going to kind of make the bouquet feel bigger. When I get my stems, I like to try to get stems that has more than one branch versus a single stem. Now I can take this, I can use it as one, or I can use it as three. So in this case, I am going to use this as three. All right, here we are. Now let me show you how it fits into the base here. It to be very much romantic. I wanted it to be very much a nod to spring. I wanted it to be very much all the things that I'm feeling like I need in my home right now. One of the things to keep in mind when you do these type of arrangements, play with the balance a little bit, play with the flow. But because the neck of my vase that I'm using here has a tight lip, I was very limited to what type of flowers I can use. Do have status in here. The status, you want to make sure you go in and you can take a potato peeler, you can take a knife. I like to just take my shears and I take off the excess foliage around the base of the status, and then you're able to use those, just give it another cut. Some of my snapdragons were a little bit rotted, so I had to throw some of those away. Some of my stems were broken, so I wasn't able to utilize all of my snapdragons. When I went and picked out the flowers, it was very much slim pickings. When I pick out flowers for arranging, I like to kind of get in there in the earlier part of the day versus after the afternoon rush where people have came in, got their florals for the day, stopped in on their lunch break, whatever have you, and got whatever florals to grace the table or whatever in their home. Pickings were very slim, but I knew that I needed this snapdragon here with this specific colorway because it's going to complement another arrangement. It's very specific on what I needed, colors I was looking for. We're gonna head in. So let's grab our beautiful arrangement here and let's head in. Are the tulips that we're going to get potted up, and let's go grab the container really quick. I think this container right here, let me move this out of here. I think this will be perfect. You guys, look at the detailing on this. It's just absolutely amazing. We have the fleur-de-lis. It's very heavy iron, and I love this. Just look at that. I mean, it's heavy, like heavy. and it does have 2 drain holes on the bottom of it. I'm not sure who makes this container, but I totally feel like this would be perfect for what we needed to do. Let's go plant up. I think this container right here will be great. In the bottom of this container, I am going to go in and put a little bit of window screen in the bottom of it to prevent the drain holes from being clogged up, because the drain holes aren't that big. Can you see them right here? Here are the drain holes right here. So this one and this one. So to make sure that we continue to get good drainage, what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we are going to add a little bit of wire screen over the top of these, just like this. We are going to be taking these large pots of forced tulips. They could potentially fit on the inside, but we're going to have to do a little bit of rewiring for one and or both. Have this container here, this little mat. So we're going to pull the tulips out, and the roots look absolutely amazing. I'm not going to worry about trying to tickle the roots or anything. And I'm going to just start popping these inside of here. Okay. So this one fits in good. And it might topple over a little bit until I get this one situated the way it needs to be. So let me pop this one out. And I'm just going to squeeze this down on the inside. Okay, just like that. Now, okay, any excess, I'm going to just get off of it now. And I'm pushing down, pushing down. Ooh, it's heavy. A little bit of pinpoint watering just to settle in the soil here. We'll start working in our pieces of moss. I like to come in and I like to use both sides of the moss, both the brown side as well as the green side here. So I'm just coming in and I'm just adding the moss in there, all in between the tulips. It's going to look absolutely gorgeous once we get done.